The heroines of the Eastern Star are not really strangers to those familiar with Bible scriptures. They are just presented in a different way, one that is easily shared as lessons in how we can come more surely together in our journey through life. Jephthah's daughter was a story from long ago and in a place where women were subject to men. Jephthah bargained with God, promising him a burnt offering should he be given a military victory. And when he was victorious, he faced that awful realization that it would cost him his daughter. For Masons, it is a lesson that our idle words can hurt those we love. It is a lesson that enforces what Jesus taught, that our Christian God does not demand sacrifice, but calls us to show mercy to one another. It is a lesson that to be faithful, we are called to be careful in our words and to cherish those we love. Ada, with the unfair and unearned sentence of death, did not falter but honored the vow that her father had made to God. She was faithful. She had fidelity, accepting even that horrible vow. What a beautiful story we have in Ruth. She and her mother-in-law Naomi were both widowed in a far land. Naomi, aged and dependent, sought to live among her own kin, and Ruth went with her as her support. Ruth, in poverty, sought out Naomi's kindred and carried the wisdom of Naomi in presenting herself as a righteous woman, a worthy person. It was then that Boaz asked after her, learning her virtuous nature. And it was family. It was Ruth who had chosen to care for Naomi, who was kin to him. It was her constancy to this righteous purpose that told Boaz who this Ruth really was. As Freemasons, it is that righteous purpose of family, of how we are to care not only for our brother Masons, but for families, and to honor the members of the Eastern Star. As members, we are brothers and sisters to one another, and that righteous purpose is part of being family. In the Bible story, Esther becomes the queen of Persia in large part because of her beauty, one whose presence speaks to the rule of the king who chose her. This is indeed a witness to us as human beings, but she was also born into slavery, a stain that had no part in her selection. She was already queen when she faced the potential destruction of her people. Is she to be governed by a personal position, or to raise the matter that she too would join in the fate of her people? It was her loyalty to her people that shone forth. It was her willingness to face destruction rather than to deny her family. Unlike Ada, whose sacrifice was tragedy, Esther was honored and given praise for being loyal to her people. Martha's brother Lazarus had taken ill and died. His friend Jesus, who had the gift of healing, was nowhere to be found. Lazarus was already in the grave when Jesus arrived, and Martha, both in sorrow and in hope, challenged Jesus as the true Son of God. When Jesus arrived, she cried out in her anguish, "If only he had been here." Emmanuel, the true Son of God, shared in her human tears. But he called Lazarus from death back into life, for he is the resurrection. The true power of Martha's faith is not in the all-powerful God to whom all things are possible. It is in the Emmanuel God who is with us in our humanity and who brings life. In this, we all can share. Electa, the elect lady of John's second letter, relates a person's story not found in the scriptures, but from Masonic tradition. It is a lady reared as a pagan who converted to Christianity and was blessed to practice it in terms of charity and hospitality to others. She is confronted by soldiers under an edict to renounce her faith on pain of death. She rather demonstrates her unwavering love for her Christ, rather than those preferred by government for official admiration. Her virtue is the strength of the love she learned in her conversion. The potency of star membership is in our shared respect for these virtues. It is how we can come to find that family-like trust in one another, and it is why other members of the Eastern Star will be able to accept you and can walk beside you in your own journey through life.